year ago in Saint-Brieuc, France, Chris Boardman rode the shortest Tour de France in history. This crash after a mile ending his hopes and leaving him with a broken wrist and a broken ankle. Tonight he will try again, and the weather for the prologue is beginning to dry out. And now we have on the start line Chris Boardman, and there he is, his eyes all concentration for the moment. He's certainly dry. The Tour de France is starting inside the hall here in Hertogenbosch, which from now on we will call Den Bosch, the same as the local people do. Boardman is away. He goes out now into the evening. It's not sunshine, it is overcast conditions, but at least the rain has stopped. Almost a reversal of a year ago, because the rain came then towards the end. Today it's been at the beginning, and now it seems to be drying out. There's the best time. Abraham Olano, 11 minutes is the time to beat, and Andre Schmil is not going to beat that yet. So Boardman now beginning to settle in. It's a 9.2 kilometer test. So Chris Boardman is on his way, and let's hope he comes back at that short 9.2 kilometers time trial with the best time. Behind him, of course, still to go, all the big names in this year's Tour de France. Hi again, I'm on with now for the next 3 weeks with Paul Schoen. We are going to enjoy this year's Tour de France, and we hope, Paul, don't we, that Chris Boardman is as well.
Well, I think he will do. You know, it's a great course out there. It's not dangerous like it was last year in Saint-Brieuc. There is rain on the ground. It is a very slippery course, but Boardman won't take the risk like last year.
Well, the prologue here in Den Bosch is a very, very simple one compared with last year. There are no hills on it. It is a circle. The riders completing 9.2 kilometers, slightly more than the regulated distance, and they have special dispensation on the race regulations for that. So far, the best time has been done by Abraham Olano. He's just outside 11 minutes. He is the World Road Race champion, and he's proving now that he really is a hard man to beat in the time trial. Now, back out onto the course, and there we have Chris Boardman settling in and looking as though he is going very, very well at the moment.
He really has got a lot of speed there. You see, this course is not as technical as last year's course in Saint-Brieuc, and you can see the speed that Boardman's got here. This is the man who was the Olympic champion in 1992, the man who's won the time trial championship of the world. He really is an expert at this kind of effort. He's flying along here as we look down the finishing straight at Bo Hamburger, the Danish rider who was recently second in the Danish championship. He will come up to the line for the TVM squad of Holland, but out on the course, Boardman looks extremely good.
Well, Hamburger, we don't expect Hamburger to win at this time trial stage, although he won a stage with the Tour de France last year. This is not his speciality, the top time trialists, and there are some great riders in this year's Tour de France. Many men who fancy their chances at beating Miguel Indurain. There's Hamburger in, 27th best for him, and that is a very good ride for Bo Hamburger. And the Dane, I'm sure, will distinguish himself in other ways in the Tour as it unfolds over the next 3 weeks. But now we go out to a man who can win this evening. Berzin, a top time trial rider. He's won time trials this year, including one in the Tour of Italy, and he's wearing the magic number of 51, which over the years has won the Tour de France more times than any other. Back in the start hall, where to the left and right of Tony Rominger, the Dutch here are enjoying champagne and are watching the Tour de France start in the dry and the warm. It's tremendous atmosphere here, and there are literally tens of thousands of spectators around this 9-kilometer course.
And brave spectators too, because it's extremely cold out there. The weather has changed over the last few days with rain coming down, and in fact the road's starting to dry a little bit for these last few riders who are out on the course at the moment, so they can push themselves a little bit further than the riders who started in the early part of the race. Number 51, Berzin, really has ridden well this year. He lost his way a little bit after the original Tour of Italy that he won a couple of years ago ahead of Miguel Indurain, but look at the speeds we can see on the caption there. 52 kilometers an hour, that's almost 32 miles an hour these riders are doing. And Berzin in that top position, the aerodynamic position that's been adopted over the last few years. And the men of the champions of the Tour de France are out trying to do their great rides at the moment, as Bjarne Riis, third last year. Change of team for him, Deutsche Telekom about to start.
The second year running, Bjarne Riis, the champion of Denmark. And as he starts, so too does the rain again. And can you believe that? But it has just started to come down again. And Boardman is now about halfway around the course. But at least there are no steep descents like there were last year when he went shooting off to the right on that left-hand bend. The arrival of this very popular man, Claudio Chiappucci. We'll see what time he does. We don't expect it to be great, but this rider himself is great. He's one of the personalities of the Tour de France. Listen to the crowd cheer him home. His time is a very respectable one as well. Not near Olano, but it'll be a good finish for the moment. 47th place. Remember, there are 198 riders in this race, and the very last man to go is just about getting ready now. There he is, number 1, Miguel Indurain, the winner since 1991. And he's staying a respectful distance behind Alex Zulle. And Zulle, you know, Paul, could produce the ride in this time trial. He almost did it last year in those terrible conditions in Saint-Brieuc.
Well, he was a rider who fell off as well. We didn't hear a great deal about his crash, but halfway around the course, he came down as well. He knows this is the kind of course that suits him. It's a strong man's course today. There's not too many corners, not too much technique required. The kind of course where you've got to go out there and use an awful lot of power. There's Alex Zulle out on the course, and we join Chris Boardman wearing number 91 this year, the man who really has a great history with the Tour de France, because he started his first Tour de France and won the yellow jersey, and he went out after only a mile and a half in his second Tour de France. But this year his objectives are a lot further down the road. He's thinking about the 3 weeks of the Tour de France and then going on after that to the Olympic Games.
Well, a week ago at the British Championship in Abergavenny, Chris Boardman did say that it wasn't his #1 priority. To finish the Tour was. We'll see. Now, this man, well, his number 1 priority is to win the Tour for the 6th year in succession. He wants his bicycle straight in just that little bit. Miguel Indurain on the countdown. Now, you see he's wearing that special helmet. Well, one of his teammates started earlier. As soon as he exited the hall, they steamed up, and he had to throw his helmet off. And I thought, in fact, Indurain might have been advised not to ride with that helmet on. But it seems as though the weather is equalising just that little bit. Conditions are better than earlier, although they're far from great. The Dutch crowd leaning across the barrier to just try and catch a glimpse of that great athlete, as Luc Leblanc is making his way up to the line. The former world champion, now riding for an Italian team, the Polti team, slips through the gears, which are right on the top of those handlebars. First seen in the Tour de France by Greg LeMond as he rode to victory to win at the Tour de France on the Champs-Élysées in that magic time trial a few years back.
Luc Leblanc not taking any risk. You see as he comes up to the line, he's well off the time of Abraham Alano in 11 seconds and nothing seconds. And there Leblanc comes over 11 minutes and 50 seconds. This man, though, is coming to form in the mountains, because he won one of the hardest finishes of the Dauphiné Libéré just last month at the top of the Col de la Bastille just outside Grenoble. But this man, too, at 35 years of age, coming to the Tour de France, possibly his last chance of winning. Tony Rominger would love to go out of the Tour de France with a victory. I think the important thing to remember about Rominger over the last few years is every year he's won a major tour. This year he's come to the Tour de France, and this is his first major tour. He's going to give everything he can to try and win it this year.
Well, Indurain is starting just a couple of minutes behind Rominger. 3 minutes, in fact. His last man out of the start house. So ahead of Indurain is Zulle, ahead of Zulle is Riis. The top 3 finishers in the Tour de France last year, having the privilege of the last 3 positions to start, and hopefully keeping his jersey, which he has now worn, a yellow jersey, by the way, for 60 days in the Tours de France over the years. Miguel Indurain, Tony Rominger, who a couple of years ago did give Indurain a good run for his money, beating him in a time trial and beating him twice on mountaintop finishes in the Tour de France in the Alps. Now he would love that form to return and really have a good shot at beating Indurain this year. 5 kilometers to go, 3 miles for Tony Rominger, which means that Chris Boardman is approaching the finishing line. We'll get him on our cameras as soon as he is within range. But the French cameras here totally committed to all of the stars being on course together. Very gentle left-hand sweep here by Tony Rominger, taking absolutely no risks. And I think caution is probably the best watchword, because once this race does start off and head out through Holland and Belgium and away down to France, then battle will resume in the Alps, of course, where there is a mountain time trial this year. It's looking very good. Rominger looks to be extremely cautious, Paul, and Indurain seems to be getting on with the job.
Almost certainly. They're on one of the easiest parts of the course at the moment, where there aren't too many corners. Interesting to see that Indurain is using the Espada, the aerodynamic bicycle that he tried out last year for the first time. Obviously not worried about too many of the corners, because he knows that he can slow down and he's got the power to pull back time on the straights. Richard Virenque not at home in this kind of a circuit here. He's not a time trialist. He's the man we'll see later on in the Tour de France in the big mountains, but always courageous, always willing to fight, knowing that if he wants to get into the top 3 of the Tour de France, he needs to go in a good time trial, and this is not bad for a climber coming up there. 11 minutes and 20 seconds, putting him in 8th place.
Not bad at all for Richard Berenc, and this is how his big effort was put in towards the finish. Remember, these pictures are coming to you live here on Channel 4 of the start of the Tour de France. Here in Holland, it is now 20 minutes to 8, and we're waiting for the arrival of Chris Boardman. Tony Rominger is out on the course. He is riding in front of, behind Chris Boardman on the start block by 3 minutes. So the camera's going back out to Rominger. We, of course, will be with Chris Boardman when he approaches the finishing area. We'll be first with the news to see just what sort of time he's going to do. Will it be good enough to win the stage today? He's done it before, 2 years ago. Now, Lance Armstrong comes into the arena. This American who has learned the time trial, went up to be ranked number 4 in the world just a few weeks ago. He slipped back only slightly to 6th, and I think we can expect a good ride out of Lance. He may be a little bit disappointed in this, but it's not far off the best time of Alano. Hits the line, he loses 17.4 seconds, and here is the arrival now of Chris Boardman right behind him. Now Boardman is close right in almost for a minute on Lance Armstrong. We are going to see a sensational time from Boardman. Whether it will survive the passage of time, we won't know yet. Boardman approaches the finishing line, his face full of determination. The good news is he's made the course. That's the good news. Now, can he give us the news we all want? And that is put the best time on the clock. He now turns into the straight. He sees the finish. Look at the clock. Boardman, Alano. Boardman is going to be inside 11 minutes. Boardman hits the line, 10:55. Now he's number 1. Now the gauntlet is down. Can the rest take him on? This is a superb ride.
That was an incredible ride by Boardman. He looked very fast out on the course. We get a chance here to look at the concentration of this man who is a specialist against the clock. We're going to have to wait now for 7 or 8 minutes for the last few riders to come in, and this man wearing number 1 as last year's winner, Miguel Indurain, is the kind of rider who could beat Boardman. But you know, Alano himself is a good time trialist, and what a measure as Berzin comes up to the line.
This is the first star to a ride after Chris Boardman, another acclaimed time trialist, and look at him rocking and rolling. Evgeny Berzin, the first Russian ever to win the Tour of Italy. He did it a couple of years ago. The man he beat to it, Indurain, who finished only 3rd. Now Evgeny Berzin this year, we think, has come to try and win the Tour de France. Can he beat Chris Boardman right now? He lines up for the finish. He's not going to do it. Berzin is going to be a whisker outside the time of Boardman, and I mean a whisker. 10:56.4. He is second by 1.39 seconds. Now that highlights the quality of Boardman's ride.
Most certainly, because just recently the Tour of Switzerland Prologue was won by this man, Evgeny Berzin. He went on then to win the only other time trial in the Tour of Switzerland. He's obviously in great shape. He rode the Tour of Italy, went on to Switzerland, came here expecting to do a good ride. Just 1 second off the time of Boardman. As you see a little slip there by Indurain as they come round the corner. He's 4 kilometers from the finish line, but the top men of time trialing in the world are really pushing the barriers further and further ahead. Boardman at the top of the leaderboard at the moment with 10 minutes and 55 seconds, just 1 second ahead of Evgeny Berzin. Alex Zulle, number 19, another excellent time trialist with 4 time trial wins to his credit this year. He's going to be coming up very soon, but we've got to wait yet for the arrival of Pascal Richard and also Tony Rominger, Riis, and then Alex Zulle will cross the line.
Superb crowd. The Dutch love their sport of cycling. They've welcomed at the start of the Tour de France here in Den Bosch. They'll see a stage here tomorrow, which is based here at the city, and then we move off across Belgium down to France, and the race will be well and truly on. Are we going to see Chris Boardman tomorrow in Holland, wear the leader's yellow jersey and wipe away forever the memories of 1 year ago? Remember, he set the record in the Prologue time trial, which stands today, 2 years ago, when he beat Indurain by 15 seconds. Now, Tony Rominger making his way up towards the finishing line as well. We haven't seen at all the arrival of Richard, and I'm not too sure whether he's actually taken the start. But now we're seeing Rominger come in. Richard has just finished off our camera. Rominger has closed right in on Richard. So Richard's time will not count tonight, but heck, Tony Rominger's might. He has done a good ride here. Now Boardman is the best time with 10:55 at the moment. Berzin is right behind him. by 1 single second. Rominger is not going to crack Chris Boardman. He is outside by 7 or 8 seconds. If he hits the line, he'll be outside by 8 seconds. 4th place for Tony Rominger. So now we have Rominger in, and we are waiting only for the arrival of Riis, Zulle and Indurain. So, as we see these pictures of Miguel Indurain, we can now go to Gary Imlach, who has Chris Boardman with him.
Chris, 10 minutes 55, you didn't look overjoyed with that as you came across the line.
No, I was fairly frustrated today, mainly because with this weather, there's just no way I could take a risk after last year, and it's really frustrating. My form isn't 100% super, but hopefully it was going to be good enough. But today, I just had to go around the corners like a tourist. I just couldn't take that risk. Imagine if I fell off again. So frustrating, but if I'm really lucky, it'll be enough, but it's relying on luck, not form.
Rain again. You must have been cursing your luck when you woke up this morning, and it must have been difficult to keep last year from coming into your mind.
Well, last year was very much in my mind every time I went around the corner. Today it had to be. I just can't take that sort of risk, so we'll see if it's going to be enough. No, I'd be surprised.
We will. Riders are coming in. Miguel Indurain, of course, the last to go. Let's go back to Phil for the latest action.
Thank you very much, Gary, and well done, Chris. Coming out of the corners like a tourist. If only I could tour as quickly as Chris Boardman, Paul. Here is the arrival now of Alex Zulle. There's only 2 men to finish. Riis has failed at 11 minutes and 4 seconds. So watch now as Zulle. This is a real threat to Chris Boardman. Here's a superb bike rider. He lines up for the finish now. Look at his face. He's gone for it for sure. He has gone for the best time, Alex Zulle. Has he done enough? He is now going to flick left. He'll line up to the finish. We will see the time on the screen. The time to beat is Chris Boardman. It's going to be a very good time. It's desperately close. Alex Zulle is going to take it. Zulle has done it by 10:53. A superb ride by Alex Zulle. He has gone just a little bit quicker than Chris Boardman. We heard Chris Boardman say that he didn't put it all into the corners. He was a little bit worried by the corners. But Alex Zulle, who took the risks 1 year ago, fell and remounted. Didn't slow down again this time.
And that's one thing that Chris Boardman must have been thinking about in those corners. He didn't want to go down. He knew how dangerous it was, and only one man now can beat Alex Zulle. But a great ride by Chris Boardman out on the road there at the moment, lying in 2nd place, 2 seconds behind Alex Zulle. This is the final man, the only man now who can beat Alex Zulle to take the yellow jersey, and he really is flying along. Miguel has got the power this year, maybe not enough for the short prologue time trial, but he really looks good.
So the face of Indurain, the face of the man who's won the Tour de France 5 times, he wants a 6th. He is now anxious to take that 6th one, because if he gets it, he'll go on to the Olympic Games in Atlanta and search for a gold medal there as well. Nobody's ever done that before, but he's not going to win the time trial. Indurain has gone round this rather gently, and so Zulle will win the time trial. Miguel Indurain will take 7th place on the stage at 11 minutes and 5 seconds. So Miguel Indurain is now across the line. The prologue is over. Chris Boardman will finish in 2nd place. So here in Holland, the story is Indurain is the winner.
Today's prologue isn't the only time the Tour has started in Holland. In fact, Amsterdam had the honour of being the first ever start town outside France. Quick trip back to 1954 after the break.
Something magical about the new Daily. In fact, it's a big revelation, especially its load space. With sparkling versatility, the new Daily van range is pure magic, with a magical price from just £49 weekly equivalent. Call 0800 99 7700 and all will be revealed.
crowds were out in force to see the first ever foreign start to the Tour in 1954. They got to see it for long. The race headed straight over the border into Belgium. The occasion was marked by a Dutch winner, though, Wout Vankman, who later had his teeth capped and went on to a career as a baddie in James Bond films.
Well, no yellow jersey for the Dutch at the start of this year's race. That belongs to a Swiss, Alex Zulle. Chris, 2 seconds off.
Yeah, to be honest, well, to be frank, I'm surprised it was that close. I thought I'd be a third, maybe fourth. I was going okay down the straights, but as I said, there's no way I could take the risks on the corners. Very frustrating, but you just have to make the decisions. 3-week race.
How far within yourself do you think you were riding?
I was riding pretty hard on the straights, but I just took it so steady on the corners. A couple of seconds is not hard to lose on about 9 corners.
All right, well, the main thing is you are in one piece. What are your overall objectives for the race?
Oh, difficult to make predictions, but, well, for me, I would have really liked to take the yellow jersey today. One really good day in the mountains with the front group, and the first 20 is a realistic objective. So many things change in 3 weeks, and I've never done it before. I've only just about done half of it, so it's going to be a new experience, and I'm looking forward to the challenge, and it's going to be very, very hard.
All right, I hope we're doing this interview at the other end in Paris. Thanks, Chris Boardman. Let's go back to Phil now for the presentations on the podium.
Thank you very much indeed, Gary. And I have to say, we all feel a little bit sorry because Boardman has done so much of British cycling. He pushed himself, as he felt, as far as he could on that ride, because he's right not to take risks. Everybody said he took too many risks last year. It cost him not just the Tour de France, but the rest of his cycling season. So the situation, in the overall situation on the stage, a win for Alex Zulle, who did the ride in 10 minutes and 53 seconds. And then in second place, Chris Boardman, 2 seconds back. Evgeny Berzin was third there. And behind Berzin came Olano. Miguel Indurain, by the way, well, he finished in 7th place. And I think that's another cautious ride by him, Paul. He will not be unhappy with that, even though he's beaten by most of the men we expected challenge him over the next 3 weeks.
Well, certainly not, but when you look at the top 10 in this time trial today, they're all riders who want to go out there and win this Tour de France. They all realise how important the stage was today. They knew that they had to go out there and put in a good performance. Indurain won't be too sad, neither will Tony Rominger, but Alex Zulle, I think, he crashed last year, so did Chris Boardman. They were both a little bit scared in the corners, which announces the fact that they're extremely on form and they'll ride well when we come to the next time trial.
Well, Alex Zulle is a man, if you remember, if you're watching our television coverage about 4 years ago, Zulle was the man who had his birthday here in his very first Tour de France. And then after that, we all blew the candles out with him. He said he was going to retire on the rest day in Dole, which he duly did. But he came back and made his mark on the Tour de France. And last year, of course, he won a mountain stage and he finished second in the race. I think that second place in the race last year to Indurain, that told Zulle he now had the confidence in himself to take him on for this year.
Well, certainly it made him realise that he was a rider for the Tour de France, a man who could get through the 3 weeks. A lot of people have a psychological problem with that because the hardest part of the Tour de France is usually the last week. So to go through the mountains, ride exceptionally well, and then come second to Miguel Indurain, who really was on form last year. Zulle took a step forward psychologically and realises now he can be a winner.
Well, let's have a look at the whole map of the route. Remember now, you're with us till July the 21st, I hope, here on Channel 4. It's a clockwise direction this year, and it's a total distance of 3,835 kilometres. 198 riders took the start today, and they represent, by the way, 24 different countries. We go through 5 countries alone in this year's Tour de France. After we leave Holland, we go down through Belgium, briefly into France. Then we go out to the east. We go into Italy via the Alps. Then we come back into France, down into the Pyrenees. We actually go past the home of Miguel Indurain, just a couple of kilometres from the finish of the stage into Pamplona in Spain. Then we go back into Bordeaux for the time trial, and then we make the long journey up to Paris. And I wonder then if we will welcome Miguel Indurain as the winner of this Tour for the 6th time. I tell you what, there aren't many people here who will vote against Indurain winning this Tour, but by the same token, it's true, Paul, and we're not just saying it, there are the riders here this year, Berzin, Zulle, Rominger, Varennes, Jalabert, who can actually take him on and beat him, and the teams might be the key.
It may well be. The Once squad have got 2 riders, Laurent Jalabert and Alex Zulle. The riders from Gaywiz also are right behind Evgeny Berzin this year, but everyone feels Indurain has won the Tour de France 5 times. You can't have so much luck that you can win for a 6th time. They feel that one day Indurain is going to have a little bit of bad luck, and that's why they'll have a lot more morale. They think this is the year that they're going to dethrone the king.
All right, remember all of the results throughout the 3 weeks of coverage here on Channel 4 on page 365 on Fortel, and tomorrow night our programme will come to you at 5 minutes past 6. Make a date now every day here on Channel 4 for the 83rd Tour de France, because I'll tell you what, this is going to be a great race. Until then, from Paul Sherwin and me, Phil Liggett, good night.